figured since I've been teetering around the subject of testimonies and everything and saying how important testimonies can be, I figured I'd go ahead and do mine. But bear with me, mine is a lot, and it might take a lot of videos. And I don't know if I've ever said a lot of this stuff out loud. And I'm not going to go into extreme details because, no, a lot of those people are still in my life. So I won't go into extreme details, and some things might be altered a bit. But I will get to the gist of it. I've had a yo-yo up and down in my life with the concept of God. I grew up in a wrath of God, Bible Belt, Pentecostal childhood. When I say Pentecostal and wrath of God, I ain't even playing. This man used the Bible as a weapon, as a threat, talking about my father, as a way of control, as a way to get what he wanted, as a way to feel more powerful, and to inflict that power onto other people, namely me and my brother and my mother. He beat us black and blue. I mean, like, beat the shit out of us, like, anytime he could. We even spoke wrong, looked wrong, did wrong. We'd get absolutely pelted. We weren't allowed to have phones. We weren't allowed to have TVs. We weren't allowed to do anything. We weren't allowed to, or as a girl, none of the nail polish, none of the makeup, none of the skirts that were certain lengths, all this. I mean, the whole Pentecostal experience. And several times in my life, he actually drug our freaking butts up to his homeland and made us witness some of these Pentecostal rituals up there, which I don't even know if it's exactly Pentecostal. I think he kind of named it that. I don't think it was, but anyways, this stuff that even to this day I will never forget. And I was a little girl. The stuff I saw them do, the stuff I witnessed, the things, even in my mind now, it would make me want to run so far from God, it's not even funny. All these men out here doing these unspeakable things and testing God and doing these awful rituals and all this stuff. It's ridiculous. No child should ever have to freaking experience that or remember it or think that that was God. Because it wasn't. But we were made to believe that was God. And we had to believe it hook, line, and sinker, or we got our ass beat for it. Anyway, for 17 years we lived in that kind of life, like constant, and all the stuff that me and my brother went through, and the abuse, the mental, the physical, the emotional abuse, watching my mother go through it. It was just a yo-yo of what was going to happen next. How is it going to happen next? And how can God have anything to do with this? Why is God letting this happen? How is God sitting back and watching this man proclaim God and all this stuff? How can this be good? How is this good? Why? I never could understand it. So it made me want to run from God as far as I could. I knew God was there, and I felt God. I knew he was, because obviously I didn't die in those 17 years. When probably a lot of times I probably should have. He saved me in more ways than I can count those 17 years, but I didn't want to put any focus on him because I was still so angry at my father. I was so freaking angry with him. I wanted to set him on fire. I wanted to do anything I could to get away from him and just make him pay and have him punished and all this stuff. The anger, the violence, all this stuff. We lived in anger and violence. Our entire life was nothing but that. And of course it molds you on later on in life, because that's what you know. It's what you experience. The lack of emotions, the lack of empathy, there's just a constant freaking fear and subjection to violence and anger. It molds you. And then take on the fact that he's doing it all in the name of God. Yeah, okay. It wasn't God. I don't think God was ever in him. But you have to go back to the fact that, think about, what was he subjected to? What made him that way? How is he made that way? And it took me a very long time to realize that. It took me a very long time for I even talk about that man without wanting to like shoot lightning bolts out of my eyes and like, well, still set him on fire. He's dead now, but still, for so many years, it was hard for me to even speak that man's name without just rage. It takes a lot when you deal with that for so long. Anyway, what did he experience? What made him that way? Childhood stuff will keep continuing until, and the traumas and the actions you were told and seen and subjected to will keep continuing until somebody stands up in that gene pool and says, stop, no more. It's not going to happen anymore. I'm not going to be my parents. I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to do that. All this stuff I see, I'm not going to do anymore. It's not worth it. Well, he never got that chance or even wanted to. But it took me a very long time to forgive that man and realize Something made him that way. And he was full of he was full of the devil. He was full of demons. Gosh, that man probably he could have been one of the friggin' men Jesus used back in the day to cast out all those legions of demons into a bunch of pigs, because he probably had that many in him that was torturing him every single day. But he never chose to let it go, and he never chose to actually do the right thing. And I don't know to this day if he died with them still in him, or if he actually gave up and let God. I don't know. It's not for me to decide. I don't know. Anyways, so that was like a really hard deterrent for me, trying to actually run towards God. And then my brother actually ended up coming back to live with me after my father had taken off with him for a very long time. So I got to actually have my brother back and start a new life and start anew from a different perspective without my father in our lives, and things started to get better and things started to change. But at that time, my mother had finally, which I didn't agree with how she did it, but she had finally figured out a way to get out from under my dad's thrall. She found a way out. She took it. She didn't take it in the right way. I was 17 years old. My mama told me I'm leaving. What? Where are you going? Where are you going, mama? Where are you going? What? She figured I was old enough now to be able to take care of JJ, take care of the house, take care of myself, be a woman on my own. And she figured at that time it was her time to get out. Because she had been subjected to, 24 years, I think, with this man. And she couldn't take it anymore. She couldn't. She was absolutely beat down, broken, bruised, literally, and destroyed in every aspect you could possibly think of. And she took her way out. So, and that bothered me for a very long time, because how could you have left us kids with that man? How could you? And that bothered me for a very long time. And that's another subject we'll get to. But anyway, she finally left. And now I'm glad that she did. But then I was not glad. But anyways, it took me about a year or two before I figured out where my brother was, where my dad took off with him, and finally got him back into the States where I could be a part of his life and him be here and get him back in school and all these things where he can actually have a life again. And ultimately, a little ways after that happened, my first husband at the time, and my brother and me, we pretty much told my dad to go kick rocks, get the hell out of here. We don't want nothing to do with you. We're done. Be gone. We're done. And he finally just fled, and we were done. We started our new life. Everything was honky-dory. We started trying to find new churches and try to find God again and understand life from a point of view that did not have our dad in it. And when we had been subjected for so many years with this indoctrination of this Pentecostal / evil, whatever it is he was trying to rain down upon us that was in our head, and unravel all these thinkings and everything in our head to actually understand and know God from a perspective of light and positivity and love, and not where he would have led us to if in fact he'd been the one that we listened to. That's a mouthful. So it was a lot, starting over from ground zero of trying to figure out who God is and why God is and why all these things happened to us and all this stuff. It was something hard. It really was. And I'll never forget the first time I truly felt God and felt saved. We were going to Garner Baptist Church. And we went there for years and years and years and years. Gosh, I love the preacher. It was Kirkendall was his last name. And then Brian Leatherman took over, because that's my first husband's uncle. He became the preacher. But both of them were fantastic preachers. And one day, we were just, both me and my ex-husband, were up there. We were just led. We were so led. We went up there and we talked to God and we let it all go and we let God in. And that was probably the first time I actually felt like love, and I felt it. It's like I felt God for the first time. Like I knew he was always there and everything, but I felt him for the first time. And it was an experience I'd never felt before. I felt like this release, this freedom, this, like, I'm here. I've always been here, child. I'm sorry those things happened to you, but that's not me. That was not me. I'm sorry. And please, I'm here. I'm standing right here before you. Listen to me. And it was the coolest moment. It really was. And I'll never forget that day. Oh gosh, that was a long time ago. Very long time ago. But that's something you just don't ever forget. But I'm about to go to part 2 because this is almost over. So, haha.